Ajim, and I'm your host for the Live the African Dream podcast. Today we have Dayo Kolewo. Whoop, please correct me if I said that wrong.
You did well. You did well.
Okay, good. He's the partner at Microtraction, leading investment and portfolio management. Dayo has a bachelor's degree in quantity surveying, and he's also a World Economic Forum global shaper. His interest lies in VC, startup, technology, sport, and entertainment. Well, Dayo, thank you so much for joining us today. It's such a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here, Eunice. Thanks for having me.
Nah, definitely. So I probably gave not the such best intros. I'm pretty sure you have a better story on how you got started in VC. So how about you just give us a quick background about, just your experience being an African and then, growing that into becoming an investor that invests in African, specifically, right, Nigeria being one of the biggest one right now on the continent.
Thank you very much, Eunice. I'll give a background. A lot of people don't know this, but like I have a construction background. And that was a different life altogether than what I'm doing right now. But I would do a quick one. So I am Nigerian. I was born in Nigeria. I grew up in Nigeria, schooled in Nigeria. So I'm very proper African. And I studied quantity surveying in school, like you said earlier, which basically is just what you call cost engineering in the US. Basically, you come with a plan as an architect and you need somebody to quantify and, come up with the cost for a particular project. And that was my job for a bit. And I enjoyed it a lot, right? Because I worked in the public sector. I served my country for 1 year, worked in the public sector and focused on building projects, which was very interesting. I think I learned a lot just being part of the team at the time. But I knew the government wasn't for me. So I knew I was going to leave at some point. And I joined, a few months after I left, I joined a private project management consulting firm. And they were focused on public-private partnership projects and infrastructure financing, which was a little bit different from what I was used to. But like, if anybody knows me, I always like new things. I always like new challenges. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it either ways and learn a whole lot, right? So I joined as a project analyst, and we were working with the World Bank, the African Development Bank, to kind of execute on public-private infrastructure projects on the continent, especially in Nigeria, the capital territory, Abuja. Ran that for 2 years. I got tired, became very boring. And I told myself one day I'm going to resign at so time and I am going to start a company. Meanwhile, before then, a couple of years before then, I'd always been in love with tech. I grew up in a family that, was tech oriented. Luckily for me, I was exposed to like games, very early on. And so I had that side of me, but I never knew I was going to go into tech professionally. I'd always loved construction so much. And so I reached out to my close friend who was in Lagos at the time. And I was like, hey, dude, I'm going to resign very soon. I want to start this company. Are you keen on it? And he was like, oh, well, I'm coming to Abuja. So he flew to Abuja and we started a company called Chow Hub. And it was born out of the fact that if you've been to Abuja a lot of times, a lot of Lagos people don't like Abuja because it is so political. It is very mild. There are a lot of places where you can go to like to eat and have fun, but nobody knows anywhere unless you live there. And we're like, why don't we create a directory of restaurants in Abuja where people can discover places to eat? And we started that as a directory, but eventually morphed into having an online delivery platform where people can order food from the comfort of their zone, whether you're in the office, at home, on the road, you can order from us and get it delivered to you. As a first-time founder, that was the wrong business idea to actually start because
What's that?
it was so tough. Like it was, we didn't understand how difficult and tough building a meal delivery company in Africa, in Nigeria, where it is crazy to actually even move around.
Can I pause that like there for like 1 second and ask you like a quick question?
Sure.
Did you go to the US or like abroad for your studies?
No, I didn't. I was
Oh,
schooled.
you were in Nigeria.
I was in Nigeria. I
Okay.
was in Nigeria.
Now, I was just going to say because a lot of times people see like they see something in the US and they say, okay, I'm going to take that and I'm going to go build something in Africa and I'm going to make so much money.
Yeah, well, I had been doing a lot of reading, but my friend and I had always been keeping in touch with like TechCrunch. TechCrunch was like our Bible, right? And so I remember when Grubhub I think went public, and it was one
Mm-hmm.
of the things I saw. I was like, wow, this is wonderful. Like, I think we can solve the same problem here on the continent, right? I remember Zomato in India, and I was like, oh wow, this is this. Why doesn't this exist in Nigeria? Like, let's build this out, right? But like but I mean, it's not wrong to do that, but like it's also like a rookie's mistake when you think that you can solve something just because you've seen it work somewhere else, right? And so we went face in, decided to build a company. We knew how tough it was going to be, but we didn't know how crazily tough it was. We ran it for 2 years. I think we grew revenues to maybe $2,000 or $1,000 monthly. So it wasn't like a successful ordeal.
That is still a good amount of money, probably like 7 years ago in Nigeria, right?
This was in 2015. Yeah, this was 2015, right? And so it was a good learning curve. I always told my co-founders at the time, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be successful, but I know we're going to learn a whole lot, right, from this. And mind you, at the time, I had no interest in VC. So it wasn't as if I was planning myself and getting myself ready to become a VC. I just felt that it was something. I loved starting new things. I loved solving people's problems. And I felt it was the right thing for me to do. But obviously, with meal delivery, you have logistics, you have the restaurants, you have to figure out, and it's food, right? So if I tell Eunice, I'm going to deliver your food in 30 minutes, I need to deliver your food in 30 minutes, right? And so it was just an interesting period at the time. We got a grant from Tony Elumelu Foundation. I think it was $5,000 at the time. And guess what we did with the money? We spent the money on the development of the product. Why? Because I couldn't code, my co-founder couldn't code, and all the money was spent on outsourcing our development, right? And
The importance of having a technical co-founder, right? Like let's
exactly right. So it was a rookie mistake. I mean, we didn't know better, right? Like all we
Mhm.
felt was we're just going to pay this developer, and developer would create a website, and it would just be good, right? But Eunice, we spent nights and nights and talking to developers every time, and it just couldn't work out, right? And so we eventually had to shut down the business. My co-founder had to leave for his master's. I was running it for a bit. You have your baby, you don't want it to die. You're like, let me
Yeah.
keep on. But eventually I pulled the plug. But within that period of time, when my co-founder left, he met up with Yele, who is the founding partner of Microtraction. And, they worked together at Yele's previous company, Starter, which was founded by Dotun. And it was a entrepreneurial community platform that connects entrepreneurs to investors, right? And I think during that period was when Yele found that look, there are a lot of entrepreneurs around, but there are not many investors, right? And these entrepreneurs are building great businesses, or at least they have an idea and they're working on it, but they need that like first check, that super check to kind of kickstart them, right? And so we kept in touch. 1 year after, believe me, I was on Twitter, and that's why I love Twitter a lot. Like, I'm a big advocate for Twitter because, and I'm sure you know this, like, there's so many people you've met on Twitter. I mean, we met on Twitter, I believe, right? There's so many people you meet on Twitter, right? And I saw a tweet from Yele's former boss, Dotun, and he was like, "Hey, congratulations to Yele, my homeboy who is starting a new fund." And I saw that tweet. I was like, Yele, new fund? How? Like, what's going on here? I reached out to my close friend. He was in Dublin at the time, who had worked with him because he was closer. And I was like, dude, we have to reach out to Yele. This is a great opportunity for us to be part of something really, really great, right? So I saw an opportunity and I was like, I'm going to take it. So we reached out to Yele, sent him an email. It's actually very public. You must have seen it somewhere there. And, told him, oh, congratulations. We're happy for you. We'd like to be part of what you're doing. Let us know how we can help. He sends a reply and says, well, thank you very much. I'll keep you posted. And I told my friend, I was like, I don't think this guy gets it. Like, I really want to be part of what this guy is doing. And I sent another email the next day, and history, the rest is history, right? Like, we had a call. It was a 1-hour call. We had good conversations around the ecosystem and what I have built and failed at. And, we joined Microtraction the same time in August 2017. And that was how my journey started in venture capital.
Wow, that was a beautiful story. And you used to mention so many great things that a lot of the times I want to share that with founders. We have similar experiences, right? From like wanting, like having a regular job and saying, I believe there's more than just my job. I want to build something amazing. And then going and start building and then realizing that, oh, like this is not that easy, right? Like it is very difficult to build a company. There are so many components that comes into it. Um, like it's like God is like testing you and just throwing different challenges to see if you will stick around, right? But again, like persistent consistency, a lot of hope and faith and optimism, right? Eventually gets you to like God is like, hey, I've been preparing you without you knowing for this other thing. And I believe firmly that the best investors are actually investors that have built businesses themselves, right? Because then you can empathize with the founder. You understand the challenges and a lot of, anyway, this podcast is not about me, but I just had to like mention some amazing things you said.
No, I agree with you, Eunice. And to be fair, like, I think it was one of the things that Yele saw in me and my co-founder, and he was like, I just have to work with these guys, right? Like, they understand, we can empathize with founders. We had built something, even though it failed, but we had tried to build something on the continent, right? He hadn't built something on the continent. He built something in the UK, but it's a different ecosystem altogether when you're building on the continent here, right? And so I think it was one of the criteria for me joining Microtraction, because there's nothing you're going to tell me as a founder that I don't know. Do you get what I mean? Like, I can empathize with you. You can't say things that you can't tell me that, oh, the market is XYZ. I'll just look at you like, we're both in the same market together. Do you get what I mean? Right. So like, there's so many things that, I had prepared myself for. I didn't know, but I saw an opportunity and I took it. And I always tell founders this as well. Like, sometimes things come to you, but you have to be prepared as well and be ready to take, and not just being prepared alone, but also being ready to take that opportunity. And it applies to everybody and all facets of life.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So there's so many other things that I'm going to like hold you accountable and I'll bring it in later on. But now I just want to kind of better understand, now you're a VC, now you work with microfraction. What was your experience making a first investment? What was that like and why were you excited about that particular company?
Yeah. So I remember 2017. Obviously, when I joined, I was more of an analyst, stroke associate at the time.
Yeah.
And, we do a lot of the work. When you're an associate and analyst, you're assessing companies, you're seeing companies daily. I just kept on seeing, and with microtraction, we have an open application process. So you're going to be seeing applications coming every minute, every hour. And the first 6 months of microtraction,
thank you to my associates right now, because it's a lot of work. We have a lot of companies coming in. Oh.
Exactly right. And so we when we launched right in 2017, we launched in July. I joined in August. We didn't make our first investment until December, right? And so that 3 months, 4 months period, oh my God, it was as if you were being thrown companies left, right, center, and not just from Nigeria alone, but from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, from South Africa, from countries that we had no idea what was going on there, right? But one thing about founders, and I think I speak for all founders, is when you see something, you see something for funding, you're like, I'm going to apply either ways, right? The worst they would tell me is no, but I would apply, right? And so we saw a lot of companies at the time. And if you remember, if you look back and think about the evolution of the venture space in Africa, a lot of it was focused on fintech at the time. And so we were seeing a lot of fintech companies being built, right? Thanks to PayStack, thanks to Flutterwave. A lot of what they've done and the groundwork they've built for the infrastructure finance and payments railways is what a lot of people have built on top of, right? And so we began to see a lot of fintech companies around savings, around investments, around building wallets and building, alternative financial services to the banks, right? We saw crypto as well. One of the deals that we did was a crypto company in 2017, right? And they were like a peer-to-peer, I have crypto, I'll sell you crypto, you give me Naira. It was pretty interesting, right?
Is the company still alive? I'm just curious.
No, it's very much alive. It's very much alive. The company's name is Bitcoins, and they're very much alive. Yes, they're very much alive. I think they're raising their Series A at the moment. So they're really doing well. They're one of our very, very good companies. And it is a testament to what we have done at Microtraction, which is finding companies very, very early, right? When people don't think they are going to be great, right? And so everybody in 2017 was not so big on crypto as it is now. They were just like, what's crypto? What's Bitcoin? But things have changed, right? So
I'm actually amazed that you guys invested in a crypto technology company in 2017 in Africa. So it's it was not even that booming here in the US.
Exactly right. And for us, it was the tenacity of the founder being very exceptional. I remember Yele meeting Timmy, and he was like, this founder is really great. He's building something that I feel will become a big deal in the financial space, right? And I remember we invested in Cowrywise also in 2017, which was exceptional founders who understood finance and who had worked in traditional finance but wanted to bring an alternative to saving and investments. And it was just exciting to see how knowledgeable these founders were, right? I always tell people that as VCs, we're very lucky because we learn a whole lot every day about different things and different subjects, especially if you are agnostic, right? And so you're just sitting in a place and just learning from fintech, from health tech, from edutech, a whole bunch of different stuff, right? So it's so good, right? And so I was really excited about the batch of companies that we invested in 2017. I think we did about 6 of them, and majority of them were financial service products.
Okay, awesome. You mentioned that you guys launched in July. You joined in August. You didn't make your first investment until December. I've been in a similar boat where I launched in January, right? And I didn't make my first investment until late May. And we all know what happens in the back end. I'm assuming you were raising money, right? Or the team was raising money.
So interestingly, I'm happy to definitely answer this, right? Microtraction was founded by Yele and a private investment holding company, right?
Oh,
And this private investment holding company had been doing investments or making investments into tech companies prior to microtraction. However, they were investing at just a little later stage than when microtraction would come in. So they invested in PayStack, they invested in Flutterwave, they invested in TZT, a couple of other tech companies. But like the way microtraction was formed was YC famously came to Nigeria in 2016. I don't know if you remember this, but they came in 2016 to Nigeria. They did a tour of Africa, and Michael Siebel was in one of the meetings that Yele was. And, local investors were complaining about how YC were pricing local investors out with their valuations. And you know what Michael said? Michael said, you need to find them early. You can't complain about YC. You're local, you understand the market, find these founders early. And that was the cue that, oh, we need to start microtraction, right? And so for us, it was a case of bridging the pre-seed funding gap, right? And finding companies or founders very early. So the private holding company I mentioned earlier seeded the first check into
mm,
microtraction, right? So it was it was the family office's money, but it was also a very risky thing at the time because you're investing your own money, you're taking a gamble, you're not sure if this is going to make sense. Michael wrote us a check. Michael, that's the CEO of YC at the time. Andy Volk wrote us a check. Chris Schultz wrote us a check. And with that, we had the proof of concept fund, which was about maybe $500,000, right? And so we wanted to prove that our thesis was right, and we wanted to start small. And
yeah.
so luckily for us, we were able to kind of get that money together. It wasn't easy though. It wasn't easy because you still had to.
Yes, because the way you're talking about it, when it's like, oh yeah, all these amazing people just give me money because you're
No,
great.
not no, not at all. Like, even when you think about fundraising units, you think about the structure, like the
Yeah,
legal structure itself. Like it takes some time and just trying to understand what entity should I use, where should I open it up,
yeah.
how should I make these investments, how do I take in money from both local and international investors. But guess what? We're raising a second fund, and I can tell you, like, it is an experience is all I'm going to say. It's a wonderful experience. It's a crazy experience. It's just all mixed in one. But yeah, that was like the backstory behind us, deploying the first set of capital. It was a little bit easier than what fund managers would go through because the family office themselves actually invested the money. But
Hmm.
I can tell you, as an emerging markets fund manager, it's a difficult thing to raise money.
It is. I actually tell founders that it is easier for a startup to raise money than for a VC to raise money.
I agree because like it's on a different level. You're being DD'd not because of the team alone, but even because of the market that you're trying to invest in. And if you have a track record, then so help you God, because you're going to be DD'd on every investment that you have made. Right? And so it's a lot more work and a lot more defensibility that you have to do to get LPs in. And, it's just an interesting experience. That's all I would
Yeah.
say.
No, I get it. I get it. That's what I'm like, and the thing is, like, a lot of fund managers, like VCs. I'm one of those that I'm like, I will talk about my challenges and I will talk about my successes, right? Because I've always felt like, as a founder, I always thought that VCs were these holy beings, right? That it takes so much to get anything out of them. And now that I'm a VC, I'm like, I'm like, we need to talk a little bit more about this, especially for me in the African context, right? I still think that despite the fact that we're hearing all these big funding rounds, a lot of money being, being not even a lot. Let's leave the a lot, like quite a good amount of money being, invested and deployed into Africa. A good amount is still coming from, a lot of international VCs or like, US, UK. And I can still count Africans fund managers, right, that are investing in Africa on my hands. Unless I'm wrong. And I'm pretty sure there are quite a few of them out there, but maybe they've not been able to raise a lot of money, right? Or they've not been able to like fully put the fund out there. The ones that I know personally is still a handful of us.
You're very
And
right, and yeah, you're very right. Just to kind of corroborate what you're saying, right? Like 5 years ago when we started, right, it was
mhm,
worse. It was really worse then, right? Like you could count. I knew a ventures platform from my startup days, and so ventures platform has been there from like way back, but they were like an accelerator, an incubator, right? You had CC Hub at the time in Africa, in Nigeria specifically. So there were very probably maybe just five of, or even less than five that were investing. And
yeah.
you would remember that like a lot of these people started with their own money
Hmm.
because there was nobody willing to take a bet on African founders, right? Other than those that were living in Africa, right? And so if you don't have a track record, if you don't know a rich person, it's difficult for you to kind of raise money, right? And so when the ecosystem started growing, we started having YC companies from Africa, we started having companies get into Techstars, into 500 startups. A lot of the things changed for Africa, and there was now more capital being poured into Africa, right?
Hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of the funds that are being started right now, or even last 2 years, have been seeded by their own money. And so you wouldn't hear any noise or any announcement yet because everybody's still trying to deploy that capital and show that you can actually invest in Africa. And
Hmm.
then with your track record, even though that is not enough, you know, you still have to raise money from international investors. So yeah, I really agree with what you're saying, and I share the same sentiments.
Yeah, and I think for me, one of the reasons why I've been targeting VCs first for this podcast is not so that they can come and like praise themselves and tell me about their great investments. I think like what I had in mind was an opportunity for them to share what has been their experience, right? Raising a fund for the African continent. What are they excited about when they think about African startups? And how can they empower, right, not just the next generation of founders to build amazing companies on the continent, but also empower the next generation of African fund managers, right, to be able to, because we need more. There might be a few of us, and I don't think it is a lot of competition because as of right now, a lot of the deals that I've wanted to get in, there's still a little bit of space for me. Because, right, there's not a lot of us, and a lot of Africans actually love having other, at least that's what I think, I might be wrong, love having other African fund managers into the round just because there's a different set of expertise that we bring when we're investing in these founders.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And to your point around just having more Africans invest or like more fund managers that are Africans, right? We're beginning to see, thanks to the little successes that we're having, because I feel like there's still so much more success that needs to happen on the African continent. But thanks to the ones that we have seen, through the venture-backed companies, the likes of PayStack, the likes of Flutterwave, the likes of, PiggyVest, the likes of Cowrywises, and all those great companies, you're beginning to see a lot of the African founders also investing in other African founders. And it starts from there, right? When you look at Silicon Valley today, right, a lot of the billionaires and the millionaires all started from investing in each other, right? And so over time, I believe that we would have more entrepreneurs become fund managers in the next, we have more of that happening in the next 5 years. And we're beginning to see them, right?
Yeah.
Odun has started Odun PiggyVest has started First Check Africa, and you're beginning to see more representation of women, right? Being fund managers as a founder and you're female, when you see Odun, you're like, I can, this is good. I can also fund the company. I can
Yep.
do it too, right? And so we're going to see that happen. But first, we need to see successes. We need to
Yeah.
prove ourselves. And then we have enough liquidity to continue to invest in more companies.
Yeah, definitely. I think Africans, both on the continent, like this is my dream, on the continent and in the diaspora. And I'm gonna put an emphasis on the diaspora because a lot of us are getting involved a little bit and a good amounts to feel like, well, I don't know what I can do in Africa. Maybe they don't want to go back right now. Maybe they still have the regular job here and they're doing really good, right? An opportunity for you to get involved in Africa is by you can start at investing as an angel investor. There are so many angel groups out there where you can start investing as little as 500 to 1,000. You can, if you're in the VC space or startup or like you're an operator that really thinks you have access to great deals, right? Fund manager and VC might be the way to go. And if you make really good money and you don't want to deal with the individual companies, right? Microtraction is there, Ajim Capital is there, right? Like you can invest as an LP, and you know, and like that's my hope. That's my hope for like where I see just this ecosystem grow and it's being owned by not just like you know international investors, but also owned by Africans across the world.
It is very important. It's one of the strategies, for us at Microtraction for our second fund, right? We kind of like reached out to a lot of our founders in Fund One who have raised money from seed and above and say, hey, look, they're founder, you were once a young founder who needed money and needed, someone to support you, right? What would it be good for you to also just invest, no matter how small, $5,000, $2,000, $10,000 into Microtraction to support more companies, right? And a lot of them were excited about it because number one, they don't have the time to invest, but they also want to invest, right? And so they're like, oh, Microtraction is great. Even founders that are not Microtraction founders, like founders in the ecosystem, I've seen what we have done. I've seen how we've supported companies and they're like, I can trust my money with Microtraction, right? And so it starts from there and it starts changing the mindset of people and saying, hey, I don't have to be a VC to invest in companies. I can either invest as an angel or I look at companies like Ajim Capital and Microtraction and trust my money with them because I know they will pick the right set of people. And you know what tends to happen? Founders referring founders is one of the best deal flow sourcing that I've ever seen. Is what has helped us so much, right? And so, imagine a founder, an African founder, investing in Ajim Capital. When the founder sees an entrepreneur within his local or her local ecosystem, they're going to recommend them to Ajim Capital. Why? They have skin in the game and they also know the value that Ajim Capital brings to the table, right? And so we're beginning to see that and we hope that that continues. But like we have to make sure that the investors, as investors, we need to pick the right set of people that can become successful and then we can rinse and repeat.
Wow, that was so beautifully said. I mean, Dayo, I think we could probably speak all day just from the way this
Absolutely.
conversation is going.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying it so far. I am enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I mean, this has been great. I mean, you have dropped some gems, and I think this was like a quick introduction to Dio and a little bit about micro traction. I think we would love to have you on the show again, maybe like in a couple of months or something, just to like see how things are going and how things are progressing.
I'm here. I'm here for you anytime. I'm happy. I would answer your call.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I always like to end with this question. The whole purpose of this podcast is all about live the African dream.
Yeah.
I've been in America for a long time, and there's just this idea about the American dream, right? Where you believe that no matter what, you can do anything you want because it's just possible. And I think I want to see something similar for the continent. So, in a very short, straight to the point description, like, what is Dayo's African dream? Like, what do you see for the continent? And like, North Star, rock star, imagination. Like, what are your hopes for the continent?
Um, when I look back at, my childhood and many childhoods I've seen, that I grew up in, and I've seen friends, and I've seen the other side of life, which is like stark poverty. Um, I always dreamed that, an average African, obviously I come from Nigeria, so I'm speaking for everyone in Africa when I say an average African can afford to live a life that they want to live, right? That's the dream I have, because like there's a lot of power in freedom. There's a lot of power in being able to do exactly what you want to do. And I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, in that, like, you are not under any bondage or any shackles to do whatever you feel like you want to do. And so the dream for me, for African, or especially Africa in general, is to have an accelerated economic development that affects truly every African in on the continent, right? And I believe with the work that I do and the fusion of innovation, technology, capital, and our biggest resource, which is human capital, that we can lift a lot of people out of poverty into the freedom way of life, where they can actually be free to do whatever they want to do. That's the dream I have for Africa, and I hope that I can play a little role, the most littlest role I can play, and have people like yourself and folks within the ecosystem help more people out of, poverty, and help them have like a comfortable life.
That was so beautifully said. I think you literally just like took what is in my head and like you poured it out. And I think so many of us Africans have the same dream, right? Like, there's so many of us out here doing our little part to see a better Africa. And I hope that I get to live, right, when this, like, when we get to that stage where we're not having these conversations anymore.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And I think we should also kind of, like, just before we close, we should also give credit to ourselves. I think we are sometimes so harsh on each other, harsh on ourselves, that we think like, Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time for things to happen, right? And so when you play your part, and this person plays their part, and this person plays their part, all those drops become an ocean, right? And so I'm a very strong believer of collaborating. I'm a strong believer of helping others. I'm a strong believer of creating wealth for Africans. And I want a world where Africans actually invest in Africa without any, risk, or like without any risk of, oh, I'm not sure if this person is going to return my money. I just want to invest because I want to support what you're doing. That's the level I want us to get to at some point, and I'm hoping that I get there during my lifetime.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. Well, Dayo, it was such a pleasure having you today on the Live the African Dream podcast. And hopefully we'll have you again very soon.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure there are a lot of things we didn't touch, but like, I'm looking forward to the next time we catch up together.